We should be rolling.
Cool. Everything look good?
Um, might need just a second here.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We're live.
Sweet. Welcome to the stream if you're joining us.
Welcome, friends. We're so excited to be here to talk about Bridgerton Season 4, Part 1.
Yeah. And I think we have we always have comments enabled, so if you're watching live and you want to weigh in, we'll try and read some of those. We try and keep an eye on the comments coming in from um, YouTube. So, yeah, send those in if you've got them.
Definitely.
All right. Ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right. Welcome back to What the Hype, dearest gentle readers. I hope you're prepared for another exciting social season with the ton. This week we're here to break down Bridgerton Season 4, Part 1. It's been a while since we talked about Bridgerton, Laura. I'm excited to be back. Are you?
I know, yes, I'm very excited. I feel like the last time we talked about it was when the Season 4 teaser dropped, and it was really just the
Yeah.
teaser to promote the new love interest of the season, Sophie. Um, and yeah, it'll be really, really fun to get into this discussion because the story we're getting this season is, I would say, a good bit different than the stories we've gotten in prior seasons.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that because I think one of the taglines that I've seen floating around for this season is every love story is different. So they're really kind of nailing that home for us. But before we get started, we do want to remind you that there will be spoilers for season 4, part 1. So if you haven't binged all 4 episodes yet and you're worried about spoilers, you can pause this and come back and join us when you have. And if you don't care, then keep on listening. And if you have watched, that's even better. So before we get into our official main discussion, breaking down the 4 episodes, we do want to give you all a quick little 411 recap here so that we're all on the same page. Season 4 sets its sights on second born son and perpetual free spirited bachelor Benedict Bridgerton. And he hasn't been all that serious about settling down and finding a wife, much to the chagrin of his mother. But all of that changes when he's forced to attend her masquerade ball and he ends up meeting the mysterious lady in silver, which ends up being Sophie Beck. Peck? It almost sounds like it's like with a P at the
Yeah,
beginning, right?
it
But it's
I can't
Beek.
yeah, it's spelled
So,
Baek, but it
yeah,
does kind of sound like Pake.
Peck.
Bake. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um
So Sophie has a fantastic backstory this season. It turns out that she is not a lady at all. She's actually a maid, and she's kind of living right under his nose. And obviously, they collide when she is herself later on. But that's kind of the gist of the premise for season 4. And yeah, we're just gonna get right into it.
yeah, I think so. I did want to ask you because I've never read any of the Bridgerton books.
Hmm.
I know you have. Have
Only a
you?
couple.
Okay, is this one of the ones that you're familiar
No,
with?
I haven't
Okay.
read this one, but I am familiar with the general premise of the books at this point, just by sheer,
Got it.
proxy and covering. So I will say that from what I understand, this is the most true to the book adaptation
Ah,
we've
okay.
gotten.
I
Yeah,
was
so a lot they're
wondering.
really honing in on some of the larger plot points. So if you're a book fan and you're a fan specifically of Benedict's love story, like this is probably like you're probably sitting pretty this season.
Yeah. Although we'll get a little more into it when we start with our discussion, but I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are on Benedict
Oh, me
this
too. I want to hear
season.
your thoughts as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should
Yeah.
just get into that then.
Yeah. Like, what are your thoughts on Benedict? Like, how you feeling about him this season?
So, I shouldn't be surprised because this is who he's always been. But I think cuz this season is very much it feels like it's kind of modeled after Cinderella
Yes,
in turn
definitely.
like as a fairy tale. And so I guess with that and kind of with the way that this series in a lot of ways centers around the idea that Violet Bridgerton, found her love match with her husband Edmund, and she really wants the same thing for all of her children. It felt like we had gotten quite a bit of character development for Benedict in season 3. And like we had gotten to see him really sow his wild oats. And so I guess I was mentally prepared for that script to flip when Sophie came into his life. And it didn't, which is not a surprise because as Penelope and Eloise tell him, he's a rake, and which means he's a man slut. But I think just I think it's the level of like entitlement that comes with it in this season that's really rubbing me the wrong way. What about
Mm.
you?
Well, hold on. I want you to
Yeah.
unpack that a little bit. Is it the fact that he's like, all the debutantes are vapid and empty and like carbon copies of themselves? Is that kind of like the entitlement you're talking about, or is
Yeah,
it more
well,
just like the freedom to just keep on carrying on as he is?
I think it's both, right? Where it's like he has such a list of demands for what he would want in a match, but he doesn't himself seem to think that he needs to live up to somebody else's list. Like
Yeah.
he gets to be picky, but he's not thinking about the fact that, well, maybe if you want to go for the caliber of person who's very headstrong and smart and who can go toe to toe with you, that person's going to be picky too. And you have to accept that. And it just doesn't seem like he thinks about that.
It's so interesting because in contrast to when you think about like the crux of last season, which is that Colin felt like he was not good enough for Penelope because she was clever, smart, had built an empire, had her own dreams and aspirations, and he was like, I have nothing else to give you because you don't need me to do any of that for you. And also like I have no title. All I have is like money, and that doesn't feel like you don't even really need that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that like the juxtaposition of that. I think that like my struggle with Benedict is that like they I feel like you're right. It just kind of felt like the way that they left things off last season because he's had 3 seasons to develop. It felt like a regression for him to really kind of especially, what really bothered me honestly was the fact that in season 3 Anthony was also gone, and he was talking about how he actually appreciated Anthony being away because it gave him a sense of purpose to be stepping in as
Yep.
like the spare while he was away. Like that's basically his job. Anthony's not there, he steps in and does it, right? And so it that implies to me that he was doing it rather successfully. So it is really odd that they open the season with him being completely inept in that regard.
Right.
And it
Like,
just felt like it's like, why are you like breaking down, like completely dismantling like what you've already set up for this character? What was the point of him having all this screen time in season 3
yeah.
if
No,
you
it's
were just going to completely like toss that out the window and basically like I don't know. It didn't really feel like we needed to go back. He did not need to take 2 steps backwards. And I think that,
no.
the
Yeah.
most compelling thing that they set up for him, and I think they really should have rolled with this, is when I'm kind of getting ahead of us, but when they're at my cottage and Mrs. Crabtree says, like, you never finish what you start. I think if they had, like, really kind of settled on that and just the whole failure to launch thing as somebody who's much older than Colin and Francesca, who both got married last season, I think that would have actually been a little bit more compelling than just continuing to hone in on the fact that he is a rake and apparently all of a sudden doesn't even really do the second born Viscount substitution stuff well at all, even
Yeah.
though the implication was that everything was running smoothly while Anthony was away.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up about him stepping in for Anthony because I it's been a minute since I watched season 3, so I kind of wasn't thinking about that, but you're so right because early on in season 4 there's this whole exchange where I forget who it is, but it's a member of the Ton who is like asking for a loan in order to make some repairs or improvements. And that member of the Ton is also behind on his rent. And
Oh yeah, it might be part of like their because you know the viscountcy like and it's kind of like with kind of like in real life royal, well it is based on like royal hierarchy, but they like have tenants on the land.
right.
Yeah, so
But
yeah, so
like,
some like there was like a tenant that was asking for help. Yeah,
right. Well, and then who is it? God, I'm forgetting the name of
it's
the
just like
other.
his manservant that's
Yeah,
like
who's
Anthony
there.
wouldn't do that, or like you
Right.
can't. Yeah.
Because, like, why are you lending someone money when they owe you money?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I think in a lot of ways it kind of feels like we're getting like season 1, season 2 Benedict, even though
Mm-hmm.
season 3 happened, which is weird.
Right, exactly. And also just like the way that things leave off with Tilly Arnold, which again like it's like I think that I'm also especially better because they gave Benedict so much time to develop in season 3,
Yep.
and that takes away from like everything else, right? Like a lot of like the whole subplot with Tilly Arnold and like like the gratuitous like threesome scenes that we got towards the end when like we really wanted to focus on like what was happening with Colin and Penelope. It's just like if you felt like that was important to take away time from like your main story, and then like you have like a regression for that character because he leaves that relationship feeling like he wanted more. You know, if I'm
Yep.
remembering, I'm like I'm not making that up, right?
No, you're not making it
Yeah.
up.
So it's like sometimes I think I'm crazy because it's like I'm not. I my media literacy is still good, right? Like,
Yeah,
let me just
no.
check
And
up
I
here.
mean,
So then,
it's
like, why would
also
he, like, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that, like, maybe they felt like that was too close. I'm wondering if they struggled because they didn't want to make his trajectory too close to his brother's. And they've already done that with Anthony and his
right.
mistress, right? Like, his whole thing about seeking a wife is because Sienna is like, I'm done with your bullshit in season 1. So he's like, if I can't have my mistress, then I'm just going to marry the best of the best. So
Yeah.
they can't really do that for Benedict, even though he's in a similar position where, like, this lady he's been hooking up with, he kind of starts to catch feelings, and she's like, I'm actually not interested in anything except for this, right?
Mhm.
But then they also can't really hone in on the whole, like, I have nothing to offer because I'm not the firstborn, because they already did that with season 3.
Right.
So it's like then
Yeah.
what's left for Benedict? And I feel like that's kind of where they dropped the ball, is that it feels almost like the writers didn't really know what to do with him. And I think that part of the reason that they struggled is because if like they did a little bit of cherry picking in the books with Benedict, and I think it almost kind of feels like maybe they cherry picked a little too much from Colin's personality in the books to give to him. And so
Ah, okay.
now they kind of like are in this position where it's like, well, we can't make them too similar because then we're regurgitating the same story. So what do we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
But
I think something that also seems like it's been a challenge is, and I don't know if this is just personal preference on my part, but thinking about season 3 and we're kind of seeing it here in season 4 where the focus is split among multiple siblings, whereas in season 1 and season 2 we got to focus on one core story, and of course there were B plots happening around it, but I think, Daphne and Simon got plenty of time to develop their story arc. I think Kate and Anthony did too, even though I still maintain that they're terrible people. Um, but still, like, their story was allowed to flourish, right? And I don't
Yeah.
feel like Colin and Penelope got that. And in a similar vein here, I think between the fact that they're trying to tell this different story where Benedict is pursuing someone who is of a different social class, and there are like different implications to explore there, but they're also setting up for things with Francesca and Michaela coming up. Like, that's the sense that I'm getting. It just seems like the focus is kind of split, and I think that makes it
Yeah.
hard.
It is a little bloated. I think if they had just focused on developing one extra couple instead of keeping the audience guessing as to, well, who's going to go in season 5? Is it Eloise? Is it Fran? It has to be one of those two because they're building them both kind of up, but it all kind of suffers. And to that point, it is important to remember that there was a showrunner change between seasons 2 and 3.
Mm,
So really kind of have to lay the blame at Jess Brownell's feet for that, I think.
yeah. I'm glad you're saying something about that too, because we were texting about this, but while I was watching, I was like, why does this feel different? I
The
like,
camera work is so
yeah,
weird this season.
yes,
There's so much like
lots of,
staring down the barrel of the lens, which makes me very uncomfortable because you're not
yeah,
supposed to.
I know. And so many like weird close up face montages. Like, I was like, what is going on? But yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. I think the camera work is pretty different this season, and it gives it a different feel. But not, not to totally skew on the critique side, because I think that there are things about it that we do quite like that we can get into
Yeah.
here. What about Sophie?
I actually
What are your
love
thoughts on her?
Sophie.
I love her too.
I think she's great. I love, we knew that they've been teasing this upstairs downstairs element to this season for a really long time. We both have we're both varying degrees of Downton Abbey fans. I think we're predisposed to love, like, what's going on downstairs just because of that. Sometimes it is a little bit more interesting, but I think especially after 3 seasons of being in high society with Bridgerton, it is just like really refreshing to see how everything works behind the scenes. Just that whole montage at the in the beginning of the first episode, to see like what it takes to run Bridgerton House. Love that.
Yeah. Well, and to see that the staff, to see that they have their own interpersonal workings, and that in a lot of ways they're kind of like babying these families that they serve, and you can just see it in people. And this is, I would give a lot of acting props to the cast that's like portraying the help this season, because you just see it in their knowing looks as they're like trying to coordinate various things for the people they work for. I'm thinking, especially, and this is jumping very far ahead, but like a Violet trying to basically organize a booty call
Yeah,
with
so
with
good.
with her man.
With
And
Marcus, yeah.
yeah, and gosh, what is, I'm so terrible with names because there are so many names in the show.
I know. I know who you're
um
talking about though. It's her
yeah,
main housekeeper.
right. And she's just like, I'll make sure that nobody's here. And she literally sends the entire staff. She's like, you're off for the night, get out of here. And because nobody must know, because this is so scandalous. And she's like, everyone drinks tea, ma'am.
Yeah, Mrs. Wilson. She's
Yes, that's
the
right.
head. Yeah,
Yeah,
she runs things. For some reason all I could think of is Mrs. Varley, but that's the Featherington
right.
equivalent of Mrs. Wilson.
Ugh,
Yeah,
and
but
I feel
even
so
like,
bad for her.
I know. We'll get into that too, because I think that was one of my favorite subplots is the whole maid wars thing. But yeah, speaking of just like the help in general, like, like it's just fun to kind of see, you're right, a lot of these characters that have been in the background for 4 seasons, like get more to do, and we learn more about them too. Footman John also, you know, he's just been around. I think he had like a little bit of a side quest with Eloise in season 2 when she was getting involved with the radicals over at the printing press.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of fun to see, like, you know, when you talk about like babying and stuff like that, like even him saying like, "Oh, Princess Hyacinth is up," and it's said in an endearing way. It's not even said
Of
in like
course.
a, yeah, derogatory kind of way. But then on the other hand, you have Mrs. Wilson, who's like, "Oh yes, babies are so cute, but especially if you don't have to raise them yourself," you know.
Yeah, and they're like really glad that Kate and Anthony stayed in India with the
Right.
baby and they don't have to deal with
Right.
it. Yeah, no, and
Exactly.
you can definitely see the different attitudes, right? Because the families who compensate and treat their staff well, there seems to be more affection
Mhm.
between them and their staff versus families like the Featheringtons that maybe don't treat their staff as well and don't pay them very well. And they just try to get by with that age old band aid that a lot of people in workplaces try to use where they're like, but we're a family.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, no.
Or the Lees, or the, yeah, which would be like Araminta, and
Oh gosh, we got to
yeah.
talk about her.
Yeah, but like, well, that's actually a nice like segue back into talking about Sophie, because I just think she's so like plucky and like gutsy. You know, it's just really fun. You know, to kind of like see how her story unfolds, and then the fact that she has this incredible backstory, going back to your whole point about this being very Cinderella-esque, where turns out that she actually is highborn, but she's, as far as we know, according to Araminta, illegitimate.
Yeah.
So that's why she ends up having to, is forced into a life of servitude. But yeah, it's been really fun to kind of get to know a new family. Also love Posey would die for Posey.
Yeah.
She's so, in a lot of ways, she reminds me of like season 1 Penelope, kind of quirky, kind of
Yeah.
awkward, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, just the most genuine person in that family, in that
Yeah.
particular trio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we're going to continue our discussion, but first we need to pause here to take a quick break to hear some words from our sponsors, but we'll be right back. And if you're tuning in with us live on YouTube, no ads. That's just for the audio version of this that'll release next week. And we're back. So we were just talking about Araminta and her two girls, Rosamond and Posey. What do we think of this? My initial thoughts were, oh my gosh, I feel like Araminta is the new Cressida. Like, down to the crazy eyes. I feel like Katie Lung, like, captured that perfectly. I've only ever seen her in Harry Potter, so I
Me
don't
too.
know what, and I'm sure like she's clearly very accomplished. But I was just like, oh my gosh, they basically came in and they were like, no Cressida this season, you got to do the Cressida eyes. Like
Yeah.
that very disconcerting, like stare down and yet somehow being like disconnected behind the eyes. It's like shark eyes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's
You know where I
creepy.
really noticed it too is like when they have that flashback to Sophie's childhood, and
Mm-hmm.
her father is introducing her, and her, the way that she just changes her, the expression so quick
Mm-hmm.
when she finds out that he has a ward that he did never told her about, is like, yeah. But even just the way she carries herself, just very stiff,
Mm-hmm.
and very poised. It just adds so much to like telling us who this person is without having to really get into much about, you know, her backstory at all.
Yeah. Well, and we know that she's very ambitious insofar as like, you know, matches and things. So she really wants She's really pushing, in particular, I think, Rosamund towards Benedict because of the name and the title. And she's like, yeah, he's a rake, but, reformed rakes make the best husbands. And it's like, I don't know about that. But, I think at the end of the day, she is clearly not all that concerned for her daughter's happiness, more so for the social standing.
Yeah, she almost makes Portia Featherington look like a treat, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Portia
Portia
is
almost
awful
looks like a
too.
freaking cartoon character next
Yeah,
to Araminta, like an evil 1950s cartoon
but they're both
character.
ruthless in very similar
Yes.
ways,
Yes.
except I think that, like, Portia, at least, like, she has, at the end of the day, she does have her daughter's best interests at heart. It's just that she doesn't
Mhm.
understand, like, the idea of anyone marrying for love. So, but yeah, they're yeah, like, kind of almost like two very different versions of characters with very similar aspirations, which is just to make sure that their daughters marry well so that they're set up, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah, it's super fun. I'm really enjoying that dynamic. I was a little surprised that she found out so quick. Like, she pieced together so quick that Sophie was the lady in silver.
Yeah.
But
And
but I think that that kind of adds to the whole, like, what you were saying, like, very, like, astute, almost like a shark hunting. So,
yeah. Yeah, she's not stupid. And I think we also have to remember Sophie basically grew up with her. So, it's not as though this was a stranger or like some faceless member to Araminta, some faceless member of like quote the help. That this is someone that she's got a lot of animosity towards as well, which I think makes her stick out. But what I really like about this too is it kind of I think it kind of pokes at the genre of masquerade balls a little bit and in a fun way. It's not to like poke at the story, but I often find myself anytime I read or watch a story that's about a masquerade ball, where everyone's masked and you have so many characters who don't recognize each other. And obviously, this works for Sophie with regards to Benedict because he's not going to know who she is. But the problem for Sophie is there are at least three people coming to this ball who definitely know who she is. And if they were to cross paths with her, which they do because she runs into Araminta, it's not going to take very much to connect the dots, especially since she's wearing a gown that she got from the attic in Araminta's house. She's wearing Araminta's shoes. Like, it just doesn't take all that much for her to connect the dots on that.
yeah, yeah, and you're right. In contrast, I mean, they do point out the fact that Benedict is very recognizable, even if,
Mm-hmm.
like, most of the women there that are of marriageable age, like, don't really quite know which brother he is. They just know that he's a Bridgerton. He's like, and he even asks, "How do you know?" They're like, "You all have similar stature."
Yep.
It's just so funny. But yeah, and then obviously, like, the mothers know too, because Araminta is like, "Oh, there's Benedict, Bridgerton, Rosamund go," you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, what do you think of Benedict and Sophie's love story as it's unfolding so far?
this is tough for me, because I do think that they have some really sweet moments together, but I feel like I need to see more. It's not as, like, I don't know. In a weird way, it's not that they don't have chemistry. It's just I feel like it's not as magnetic as some of the other seasons have been, and maybe it is because maybe it's by design, because he's being pulled in kind of two directions. Like, he clearly is attracted to her, but he's also obsessed with finding the lady in silver and just doesn't know it is her. So I guess if I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, it just, maybe it doesn't feel that way because he really is kind of, um yeah, he's kind of
Yeah.
focused on two different things.
Well, and it does seem like she Not always, obviously, but she holds back too because she knows that he is looking for her, but she doesn't want to be super forward at this point. But what
Yeah.
about just like jumping ahead to the end of the first half? What
Mm-hmm.
did we think of that that like part 1 finale moment between Benedict and Sophie? What did we make of that? I
So
cringed so hard.
yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew that he was going to ask her to be his mistress, and I still was like, "Ooh, like that's ouch, that's awful."
Yeah.
But so I would be curious to know, as somebody who like was not expecting that, how did you feel about that? Or
Yeah.
did you think it was coming because they did have that conversation at the ball at White's?
I figured it was coming because they clearly set up for it, but I think it was just more so the way it was delivered. Like, Benedict, tell me that you have no idea how to actually like woo somebody that you're romantically interested in without telling me, because he's literally doing the you deserve everything and more, and I want to give you everything, and you're so amazing, will you be my mistress?
God.
Is just like, oh, dude, like, do you like, imagine if the tables were turned and you were her, how that would feel. So I think it just
Right.
speaks again to some of the entitlement that I was talking about earlier
Mm-hmm.
in this discussion. Is just it feels very much like he's kind of a boy king who just thinks that he can have what he wants, and he's not like he's not a tyrant. He's not an asshole per se. He's not mean, but very entitled and very selfish, honestly, which is mean.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's just basically he's like, I'm not ashamed of you. I just don't like we can't really be seen together.
right.
So, like I'll make sure you're happy and you're provided for, but also this has to be between you and me. It's just that's not the romance that he thinks it is.
Yeah, well, and I think especially after the conversation Mrs. Crabtree has with him, when she's like, "Hey, first of all, she has to do whatever you ask her to do." Like, I really loved that she pointed out the lopsided power dynamic that's at play here, where she's like, you can't pursue
Yes.
her because she can't say no to you, which is such a messed up thing to even consider. But if you're thinking about norms of the time, that was the reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And she even like she begs him to leave her alone. She
Yep.
says that a couple times. She's like, "We can't do this." Also, like, this is the best job I've had, and you said that you were not going to be here, darkening my doorstep, and yet you're always here and you're always around every corner. She like and yeah, and I guess like, I think he like in a way it kind of feels like he's been looking for this workaround ever since the both of them say something to him about this, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I've got an idea. This is how I solve all my problems.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, and then you think it like, okay, well, like let's just say like, thank God Sophie has the self-respect to be like, absolutely not, fuck this, I'm out, I'm going to the
Yeah.
tavern with my friends. But also like you have to think about it from the other perspective. Like what if she had said yes, then like is he just going to be like, he's really only half hers, like because he's going to be obsessed with finding this lady in silver the whole
Yep.
time, and she's not going to come clean about it.
Exactly. Well, the other thing too is it puts her at a great amount of risk because I mean, I think it's Mrs. Crabtree again who points this out. If word were to ever get out that she's maintaining a love affair with Benedict, she'll become unemployable. So, and it won't hurt him. It'll do nothing to him, but it would destroy her livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
So he's putting all of that at risk for her. And again, putting her in a position where it's challenging for her to say no. So I think all of this together just, I don't know. My jury is out on how I feel about
Yeah.
this story. We'll see. I mean,
Mm.
they tend to,
They
sprinkle
fix
fairy
it in
dust
the
on it
end.
and pull it
Yeah.
together in the end.
Do
But
you okay? If I feel like we maybe did this last time, maybe we didn't. So like I know that you're not a big fan of Canthony. So like where is Benedict ranking on this list? Like if you're ranking.
yeah, I mean, honestly, he's worse right now. Because at least at the end of the day, after Canthony gets together, they kind of ride off into the sunset and they're not making other people miserable anymore. But I just in this at this point in time, Benedict is like kind of potentially setting other people up for life ruin. So I'm not a huge fan right now, which is so sad because he's up until this point he's kind of been a very like lovable fop in this
Yeah,
series,
he's like the comedic relief,
Yeah.
you know. I
Yeah.
think that actually would have been like so interesting. Again, like it's not like I feel like we're being like it probably sounds like we're being so hard on him. I just feel like they could have done better because even if they had like painted him um like the one that nobody takes seriously, like that even would have been more compelling than just being like, oh, like
Yeah.
I'm self-sabotaging by continuing to fuck around even though I'm like kind of tired of this life.
Totally.
Or maybe he's not. I don't know. Like it's kind of hard to say. I take it back. He probably isn't tired of the life. He's just doesn't want responsibility. But they could have
Yeah.
like I guess that I just feel like they needed to pull on that a little bit more than they did.
Yeah. And maybe they will in part 2.
Yeah. It's tough
Um
because there's only 8 episodes. I don't
I
know why they don't.
know.
They really. I feel like Bridgerton really needs 12,
I agree,
10 to
especially with
12.
the amount of B plots that we have going
Yes,
on.
yes, and it's
Yeah.
like they're making enough money for it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Netflix is
So,
so weird about this though. Um
mm-hmm.
but we're going to get into those B plots here in a moment, but we do need to take just one more break before we do. So, we'll hear some words from our sponsors and we'll be right back. And we're back. So let's talk about Penelope. So, recap.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone in the Ton found out last season that she is Lady Whistledown. And not only is she famous now, but the Queen kind of wants to make her her own personal like gossip reporter. So the queen is making lots of demands of Penelope, but we also see other characters wanting to see like how they can leverage Lady Whistledown to their own benefit. Like even Benedict is trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of this? How does it strike you that we're at a point in the story now where like everyone knows who Lady Whistledown is? They know her identity and yet she's still writing.
Yeah, so that does happen in the books, albeit very differently than how it happens in season 3. But she does by the end of her in Colin's book, she does have to come out as Lady Whistledown. So, but it is interesting to see how they've just chosen to portray this dynamic. I actually think it's quite hilarious that the Ton is basically like calling on her and courting her as though she's a debutante, which is what she never got, and now she has to take like calling
Yeah.
hours with people. And I guess like their prize for that is that maybe like their piece of gossip will end up in Whistledown. They could be like, I was the one that brought this to her, me. I do think that the queen stuff is fascinating, but not
Mm-hmm.
surprising.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I don't know how. Um, I'm very interested to see how they resolve that if they do it all because you can tell it's weighing on her.
Yeah, well, because she recognizes that she has the power to ruin people's lives with her pen.
Mm-hmm. And I love that
Yeah.
they did make a point to point that out that she is very like because I think it's really easy. I feel in a lot of ways like she is one of the most misunderstood characters in
Mm-hmm.
Bridgerton. Um, More so than like even like honestly, like I feel like some people are like harder on her than they are on Cressida, who is like textbook villain. Like we're not supposed
Yeah,
to like her,
right.
even though they tried to redeem her. But they're especially harsh on Penelope a lot of the time. And but you have like even last season, Eloise says like she's been fair, you know, because she grows up. You have to remember too. She
Yeah,
starts writing when she's 17.
right.
That's like she's still a child, forced to have debuted early, and this is like her shield, her vice for that. Having to exist in a cruel world where she like and to debut early when she didn't want to. But now as an adult and she's settled into it, like, it's nice to have scenes like the one where Mrs. Varley and Portia are trying to help her decide what they're going to put in the column. She's like, I can't put that in there because then this nice person will be ruined. Like, you have to think
Mm-hmm.
about like how far the shrapnel basically goes. So
Exactly.
like the inner workings of that are really interesting to me. But
I
yeah.
think so too. I think what's also interesting, and maybe we'll get more of this in part two. Um, the only piece of this that I'm having a little trouble with is the idea that everyone knows, and she's obviously still gossiping about people and distributing it, yeah, albeit like she's trying to be more fair.
Mhm.
I find it a little hard to believe that nobody would have an axe to grind with her,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Definitely. She's ruined lives
Yeah.
for sure. Like, and most people probably deserved it. Let's be real.
Yeah. But like, let's be real. How would a society react to something like that?
Yeah. Well, I think that the biggest thing right now is the reason people don't act is because she's clearly under the queen's protection.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as she stays in the queen's good graces, she's good with the ton. That's the big reason why. That and also she married into a well-to-do family.
Right.
So she has like the Bridgerton name as a shield, and then the Queen Charlotte is vouching for her. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that is helpful to me. What is like is harder to like figure out. I guess like they've kind of like they've explained this by having people come in for calling hours, and then obviously like Mrs. Varley, she's always like said that the help like has the best gossip. Like that's how she got a lot of her gossip in season 1 too. So there are like the gossip is kind of like coming to her. She doesn't have to be as like sneaky about it if she
Right.
doesn't
She doesn't
want
have to
to because
seek it
she's
out.
she's so noticeable and they do make a point of saying like as soon as she like her red hair is out people are like, oh, that's Lady Whistledown. That's why they
Yeah.
have her in the blonde wig for the ball, which is weird because then it's like, oh, like Nicola Coughlan who plays Penelope is blonde, so it's like they just
I
like
know.
had her
She just looks
be
like herself.
yeah, she just looks like herself, which is so funny. But yeah, so I think that like as far as like disguises go, that makes sense. Um, I think it would have been like again, it's like it's not their season, so it's like it's hard. Like obviously they're not going to spend as much time on Penelope's story anyway. But yeah, I just think it would have been fun to have seen like like a little bit more of like maybe like the maids bringing her gossip instead of just people of the ton.
Yeah.
Or even like Colin coming back from the gentleman's club to be like, oh my god, you'll never guess what I heard at the card table, because that guy likes a little bit of gossip too.
Oh, yeah,
They were
totally.
gossiping together the whole time before they got married. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think it just comes down to screen time.
yeah, for sure.
you
for
know?
sure. But just because they have put an emphasis on the fact that she's recognizable and it's hard for her to now do her job, like I almost kind of feel like they could have added like a tiny little bit more, and then that would have like helped kind of smooth over that entire arc that they're now putting forth. Because it seems like it's going to be a bigger deal going forward for her
Mm-hmm.
character. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
What about Francesca and John being back from Scotland? That also includes Eloise and,
Yeah.
you know, because she went with them, but also Michaela shows back up because, you know, they need that.
Mm-hmm.
They need to set up that part of the story. Um, we also we have this whole arc for Francesca where she's trying to figure out how to achieve her pinnacle
Mm-hmm.
because her sexual relationship with her husband is not all that gratifying at this point. Um, I would just say, first of all, props to these two actors because they did such a good job of portraying people who have like no sexual chemistry.
Yeah, but there's something so sweet about them
It is
together
sweet.
anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's just like um I know that the joke online, for better or for worse, is that they're just like both autistic and like stimming together silently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but it is, there is something sweet about their companionship, regardless of the fact that
Yeah.
you're right. Like they're just clearly not sexually compatible, which for some people, like that's not necessary in a relationship. But it's very
Yeah.
clear that they're setting up that like it seems like she might not need, you know, sexual chemistry, but then Michaela comes in the picture and she's like, oh fuck, you know,
Yeah. And
like,
she's
you know,
like, the woman was too stunned to speak.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
But yeah, I think that like they've actually been like, as far as B plot goes, they've been very compelling
Mm-hmm.
together. And then I'm just thinking like, oh my god, poor Fran, like all she has like in her life are like women that are married to her brothers. And so then she has to ask Penelope.
I know. I
Yeah, or her
know.
mother. And Violet's like hopeless. She never even
Violet,
was a big help with Daphne.
no, for somebody who is so obsessed with her children finding love connections, she's
Yeah.
uniquely bad at talking about this part
Mm-hmm.
and like preparing her especially her female children. Like it seems like the guys kind of figured it out
Yeah.
because they're allowed to, right?
They're
Like it's
exactly
socially
they're yeah.
permissible for them to do that. But
They're almost like encouraged to.
yeah, yeah,
So
but not the girls
yeah.
though.
No, no. So anyway, so she's like yeah, she's got a tall order to fill, and Penelope does her best. She does a pretty good job.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
I
we'll
also
we'll
kind of
see if she
like,
gets there.
yeah, I was gonna say like I'm glad that I know we want to talk about Eloise. I do feel like Eloise, like she in a lot of ways she continues to kind of portray the like the modern woman.
Definitely.
And I think it's so like it's so interesting to have a character who like feels like they're falling behind because they aren't married.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you like, I think like the parallels to how that feels even today in age makes that very compelling, especially
Totally.
for our generation, because if like I think like, you know, a lot of us are single by choice. A lot of us are getting married later than our parents. And then if you are in a position where like you're unmarried and also unattached to with a partner, but all of your friends are married and having kids, it's really easy to feel like you're being left behind. And I
Mm-hmm.
really feel for her in that sense
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Well, and she's really trying to embrace being, quote, on the shelf.
That was so funny. Like she
I
was like, I'm
know.
on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, because she doesn't want to be part of the whole. I mean, it's a massive mating ritual is what it
Right,
is, and
exactly.
she doesn't want to be part of it, you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
clear to me that I think of all of the Bridgerton siblings, I feel like she's actually the most poised to find like that love relationship that her mother wants for all of her children because she wants something real if she's going to have it, you know? Like she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to go through this whole manufactured mating dance that they have to go through. And this is like what, her third year on the market or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like that is where like it don't I mean obviously they couldn't have sped up her trajectory anymore, but that is where like it's so fascinating to see the juxtaposition between like her and Penelope because they are best
Mhm.
friends. Um Not only because Penelope always secretly wanted to find a love match and she had to kind of keep that secret from Eloise who always wanted them to be spinsters together, but
Mhm.
because Penelope 3 years out on the market was a spinster, considered a spinster because she had no prospects. Eloise, on the other hand, is 3 years on the market. She's like, I'm on the shelf. Of course I am, because it's been 3 years. And Violet's like, no, like, yeah, somebody else might have been on the shelf, but you're a Bridgerton and you're a hot commodity, whether you want to be or not. So you're
Right.
actually not on the shelf.
Totally.
So, yeah. But yeah, just like the those little like peeks into the dynamic that we're still getting even you know 4 seasons in are always really fascinating to me, and it's kind of fun to see how they slip them in. How do you feel about Hyacinth this season? She's all grown up. Her dresses have been
Yeah.
lowered. The hems have been lowered. She's trying to sneak into balls.
I know.
She's
Yeah,
like a
I
little mini
mean,
Daphne.
she really is. And I don't know that we've gotten enough time for her yet to feel
Mm-hmm.
super invested in her, but I think that'll be coming. It kind of feels like she is being set up currently to become a true B plot probably in the next season, would be my guess. She's still a little young.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that pairing her up with Eloise this season is an interesting choice because,
Mhm.
I think in a lot of ways, sometimes Eloise, um, I don't think she means to, but I do think that she, in disavowing everything for herself, she tends to make the people that she loves in her life feel like they're wrong for wanting something
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
And we see that happen with Penelope, and we're seeing that happen with Hyacinth now, who's pushing back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's giving like disdainful
Mm-hmm.
towards these institutions that her family really buys into.
Yeah. I also really love the Lady Danbury and the Queen, like their relationship. With like I think Queen Charlotte really helped make that very compelling. But especially now that she's ready to move on from high society, she wants a break.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like I teared up when the Queen was like, if you leave, what happens when he dies?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, to this day, Queen Charlotte is my favorite Bridgerton season.
It's so good. But
It's so
Shonda
good.
spearheaded Queen Charlotte. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was so good. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, if you've watched it, you just have a lot more appreciation for what's happening between Lady Danbury and the Queen at this point in the
Yeah.
series. But yeah, the Queen, like, initially it comes across as though, it's because the Queen doesn't really trust anyone else. And she also, it comes across like she's forcing Lady Danbury to be her friend because she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really have any other friends. But when you finally peel back the layers and realize it's because she's afraid of being alone, it's
Yeah.
tragic.
Well, also, like, I could see, like, I understand the whole, like, it's hard to let somebody else in.
Yeah,
Like, Lady Danbury, they've known each other since her first season, basically.
right.
So yeah, it's tough it's a tall order to try and replace herself. But how do you feel about her trying to set Alice Mondridge up to sort of take her place?
It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't imagine a show in which Lady Danbury just rides off into the sunset and we never see her again,
Yeah.
you know? But it
Mm-hmm.
does feel like she found somewhat of a mini me to try and step into her shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. For a minute, I thought that she was going to try and use Penelope as like a
Mm-hmm.
means to keep the queen entertained, but I don't think that quite works for Penelope's character and like what she really wants. So it makes sense that she's trying to
Right.
like position someone else in that role.
Yeah, I think Penelope is like an entertainer for the
Yeah.
queen.
Also, she just wants to be with her like cute little baby and her husband, and
Yeah.
yeah, she needs a break. Let the girl go home
Yeah.
and
And I mean, like, apparently those two just love getting it on in carriages for
yeah,
whatever reason. So,
just let them. I mean, God,
yeah,
they like barely just got married.
right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of love connections, I know we spoke about it very briefly earlier on, but let's talk about Violet finally getting her garden tended to.
Good for Violet.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, "You go,
Mm-hmm.
girl. This is they've been
Yeah.
building this up. They've been building this up since Queen Charlotte."
And she looks so good in her cute little tap
She
shorts
does.
and bustier or whatever you want to call it, corset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the whole like organizing the secret nighttime tea. You could just tell how nervous she was about everything, but
Mm-hmm.
also I really appreciated how she had agency every step of the way.
Yes.
That's something I really appreciate about how they've developed her character because I think that's just something that would be uncharacteristic of that time period. And there are a lot of things we see in this show that are uncharacteristic of the time period. And I really appreciate that the show pushes those boundaries because I think it leads to really compelling stories.
Yeah, even like I mean like you're talking about like also second chance romance for
Yeah,
somebody that is like middle-aged. I think it's very rare that we are allowed to see women that are middle-aged or older you know, like be like be in love and like owning like basically their own sexual agency, and
right.
that's really important. I think that's one of the another show that we cover here and we'll be talking about very soon on What the Hype is Outlander, and I think just by sheer proxy of having the those characters age over the trajectory of those shows, and then like you're still seeing them like have sex and be as in love with each other as they were when they first got married. I think that it's just like I don't know, it's a good I think it's a good reminder to the general public that like you can still feel those things at any age. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's great when you have larger properties like Bridgerton that are like, hey, wait a minute. Like we know that like most of this has to do with like young people falling in love, but also like, you know, here's like Violet who's been a widower and focusing on her
Yeah.
children, and now she gets to focus on herself a
Yeah.
little
Well,
bit
and she
too.
loves love. Like that
Yeah,
much
she
is
loves
very
love.
apparent
Yeah.
about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
So
love it.
mm-hmm.
So when does part two come out, Pam?
Part two comes out on I want to say February 29th, 26th. Let me double check that.
Yeah. Towards the end of the month.
February 26th.
Yeah. So we'll be back.
Episodes 5 to 8. Yep. We'll see how this
Um,
crazy storyline with Benedict and Sophie wraps up.
yeah, definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that kind of wraps us up for today. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Pam, before we wrap?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered all of the big basics. It's kind of hard to say like where season four is. I think it would be unfair of us to say where season four is landing for us now, because I do think that we need to get the full picture of all 8 seasons before we go back and see if it changes how we've ranked the initial seasons that we've already gotten. But stay tuned for that because I am always curious to see like how overall how things land. But yeah.
Definitely.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm as I said, I think my jury is still kind of out on the actual core story of the season, but I'm staying open-minded because um yeah, they've managed to surprise me before. So we'll see how part 2 goes. I think a lot of it's just going to come down to how much time is dedicated to B plots and how well they kind of set up those B plots to flourish in season 5. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm taking like a wait and see approach.
I feel you. All right. Well, we'll
Cool.
see you all back here in just a couple weeks to recap the rest of Bridgerton season 4. Thank you so much for tuning in, though, to this episode. Be sure to follow us in your favorite podcast app and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. You can follow us on social media as well. We're you can follow us on social media as well. We're at What the Hype Podcast on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and What the Hype Show on X. Our website is whatthehypepodcast.com. And if you want to email us about anything, you can do that at whatthehypepodcast@gmail.com. Coming up, we're going to be talking about HBO's The Pit. And that's another show we're really excited to dive into. So if you've been
Definitely.
catching up and watching that as well, please join us for that. Otherwise, we'll see you all very soon for another pop culture filled episode.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.